I was finishing a double shift at the diner when my phone vibrated nonstop in my pocket. I stepped outside into the pale evening light, wiping my hands on my apron, thinking it was another late order. Instead, I saw my 7-year-old son Noah calling 3 times in a row. He never did that unless something was wrong. When I answered, his voice was trembling. "Mom, I fell. My wrist hurts. I can't move it." The world around me went muffled, like someone turned down the volume of life. I asked where he was, and he told me he was at my parents' house. The same house I grew up in. The same house that raised my sister Lily like royalty and treated me like background noise. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. I grabbed my bag, clocked out without a word, and ran for the bus stop. The whole ride felt like a punishment. Every red light, every slow break, every second my son was hurting while sitting next to 2 people who never saw either of us as human. When I reached the house, Noah sat on the porch steps, clutching his wrist close to his chest like a broken bird. His cheeks were streaked with tears and dirt. He looked up at me with relief so raw it made my stomach curl. But what made me freeze wasn't Noah. It was my parents standing behind the screen door with Lily's kid, Harper, jumping excitedly around them, wearing a party hat. My mom opened the door only wide enough to stick her head out. "Oh, good, you're here," she said flatly, like I was the mailman, not her daughter with an injured child. I crouched beside Noah. "Baby, what happened?" I slipped on the gravel. He whispered. "Grandpa said I should stop crying so much. I tried, Mom, but it hurts." My mom clicked her tongue. "See? This is what we're talking about. He panics over a little fall. Pain builds character. But you wouldn't know about that." My dad stepped forward, adjusting his belt. "Your sister is taking Harper out for dinner. We're joining them. A celebration. Don't make this about you." I blinked because I thought I misheard. "You're going out to eat? Now? While Noah's wrist is swelling?" My mom shrugged. "Kids fall. He'll live. Harper's dance audition went great, and Lily wants to treat her. We're not ruining a family night because your kid can't walk straight on flat ground." Noah whimpered, trying not to cry again, and my mother's face twisted with irritation. "There it is," she muttered. "That weakness. You passed it right down to him." My blood pressure spiked so fast I tasted metal. "You didn't even give him ice?" I demanded. My dad scoffed. "We're not nurses. Stop acting like we owe you something. You're lucky we even watched him." I picked Noah up carefully, trying not to jostle him. He buried his face in my shoulder the way he used to when thunder scared him. His tiny hand shook against my shirt. "We need to go." "To urgent care," I said, turning toward the driveway. My mom opened the door wider now, not out of concern. No, out of annoyance that she might miss her restaurant reservation. "Well, go then," she snapped. "But don't blame us when he grows up soft. Every time he cries, you run. That's why he's nothing like Harper. That girl handles pressure. Your kid folds." My fingers dug into my purse strap. "You're comparing a kid with a broken wrist to a healthy 9-year-old going to eat pizza?" I asked quietly. My dad smirked. If he had half her backbone, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Noah stiffened against me, hearing every word, and I watched something inside him shrink. Something I swore I would protect better than anyone protected me. Lily suddenly burst out of the house wearing a glittery jacket, holding Harper's hand. "There you are. We're late. Dad, Mom, let's go." My mother lit up like Christmas lights for them. "Oh, absolutely, sweetheart. We're ready. Your sister's dealing with her usual." Lily gave me a bored glance and then looked at Noah. "Is he seriously still crying?" "He has a broken wrist," I said sharply. She shrugged. "Accidents happen. Stop being dramatic, Megan. Kids heal." But I noticed something different in her expression. A tightening. A flicker of guilt? No, not guilt. Worry, but not about Noah. About something else. Something I wouldn't understand until much later. Her eyes darted away too fast. My parents followed her to the car, getting in without even looking back at us. My mom rolled down the window and leaned out. "Try not to make a scene at the clinic," she said, voice dripping with venom. "Doctors talk." We don't need them thinking our family is unstable." Then she added the line that shattered whatever was left between us. "Pain builds character, Megan. Unlike you." They drove away with laughter echoing behind them. I stood there with Noah trembling in my arms, watching the taillights disappear, feeling something inside my chest snap clean in half. Not like a bone. No, more final than that. Something broke, and what replaced it was sharper, colder. I whispered into Noah's hair, "I've got you. I promise you'll never beg them for anything again." He nodded weakly. While we walked toward the road to call a rideshare, I realized something. Lily's strange, nervous glance wasn't random. My parents weren't just cruel. They were hiding something, and I was about to find it. Not for revenge yet, but for protection. And later, much, much later, when the truth came out, they would regret every word they said on that porch. Every single one. Urgent care was overflowing, but the moment the nurse saw Noah cradling his swollen wrist, she rushed him in. They took x-rays quickly, and when the doctor came back, he wasn't casual or dismissive. He looked concerned. "It's a clean fracture," he said gently, wrapping Noah's arm with practiced hands. "But he must have been in real pain. How long was he left like this?" I hesitated, not wanting Noah to hear any more negativity spoken over him, but he whispered, "Grandma said to stop whining, so I sat on the porch until Mom came." The doctor froze mid-movement. "You mean this happened earlier today?" Noah nodded. The doctor pressed his lips together, frustrated. Not at me, but at whoever left him like that. "He should have been brought in immediately. Leaving a child in that much pain is irresponsible." I didn't have the energy to explain my parents to him. Their coldness wasn't something a medical chart could hold. When we got home, Aunt Joyce, my mom's older sister, was already waiting on my porch swing. She stood up fast when she saw Noah's cast. "Oh, sweetheart," she whispered, touching his cheek. "What happened? Your mom called earlier but didn't say a word about this." I blinked. "She called you?" Aunt Joyce frowned. "Yes, around an hour ago. She said you were acting dramatic again and ruining Lily's celebration dinner with complaints." My jaw locked. So they covered themselves before I even had the chance to speak. I ushered Noah inside, settled him in bed, and returned to the porch where Aunt Joyce waited, arms crossed tightly. "Megan," she said quietly, "I know my sister can be cruel, but today she sounded panicked, defensive, like she was hiding something." That word again. Hiding. I leaned against the porch rail. Lily was acting strange too. She couldn't look at me. Aunt Joyce exhaled, lowering her voice. "Your parents have been trying to keep something quiet, something involving Lily." "Like what?" She hesitated. "Money, debt, a mess they don't want anyone in the family to know." I stared at her, stunned. My parents always flaunted how successful Lily was. The perfect daughter. The one with talent, beauty, posture, patience. Everything I was told I wasn't. And now? Debt? Before I could ask anything else, my phone buzzed. A message from my mom. "Don't call tonight. We're having a family celebration. No drama about your son." Then another from my dad. "If you can't handle one little fall, don't expect us to help again. Focus on raising a strong kid for once." Aunt Joyce saw the look on my face and whispered, "Sweetheart, this doesn't end unless you end it." I looked back toward Noah's room, where he slept with his cast resting gently beside him. My parents didn't just insult us this time. They abandoned a child in pain. They humiliated me in front of my own son. They covered up their cruelty with lies. And now I knew there was a crack in their perfect image, something they desperately didn't want exposed. For the first time in years, I felt something that wasn't sadness. It was clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. I knew exactly where to strike. Not poetically, not quietly, but directly. And this time, they wouldn't walk away laughing. 2 days passed, and my parents didn't ask once how Noah was doing. Not a text, not a call. Not even a fake apology like the ones they used to spit out when relatives were around. But Lily kept pacing outside my job like a scared cat. She'd show up near the parking lot pretending she was just in the area, but her eyes darted around so much it was obvious she was hiding something, or terrified something would get out. On the third day, Aunt Joyce called. "Megan, honey, they're in trouble, big trouble." I stepped out behind the building, the wind cutting across my face. "What kind of trouble?" She lowered her voice. "Your parents co-signed on a private loan for Lily, a huge one, tens of thousands. She defaulted." My heart froze. "And they didn't tell anyone because?" I asked. "Because they used their perfect daughter image as leverage to get extensions and favors. But the lender started calling the family landline." She inhaled sharply. "Your parents don't want anyone to know they bet everything on Lily." "And lost." I stood still, phone pressed to my ear, pulse knocking in my neck. Of course it was about Lily. Every good thing I ever earned, taken so she wouldn't feel behind. Every moment I struggled, blamed on me being weak. And now their golden child was drowning, so they decided to step on me and my son so no one would notice. My hands stopped shaking. My fear dissolved. I finally understood something. They needed me. For the first time in my life, they needed me. Not for love, not for family, but to protect their perfect facade. That's when the revenge wrote itself. Aunt Joyce invited me and Noah to dinner the next evening. The moment we walked in, I knew she had planned something. The dining room table wasn't set for 3, it was set for 6. She'd invited my parents, and Lily, and Lily's fiancé, Mark. My stomach twisted, but Aunt Joyce squeezed my hand under the table. "You deserve to be heard," she whispered. They walked in late, of course. My dad with his usual smug half grin, my mom with her chin high, Lily shrinking behind them like a guilty shadow. My mom barely looked at Noah's cast. "He's fine. Kids heal." My dad forced out a sarcastic laugh. "Pain builds character. Maybe he won't be as whiny as you were." The way Noah lowered his eyes, it nearly broke me. But not tonight. Tonight, I wasn't the quiet daughter. I leaned back in my chair very calmly and said, "So, Lily, when were you planning to tell Mark about the defaulted loan?" The room snapped silent. My dad's fork dropped. My mom's smile cracked. Lily's face drained to chalk. Mark blinked. "What loan?" My mom hissed. "Megan, don't start." "Oh, I'm not starting anything," I said, each word smooth as ice. The lender already started. They called the house. Several times. Mark turned slowly to Lily. "You said everything was paid. You said your parents were helping because you were responsible." "They were," Mom snapped. "She deserves support." I leaned forward. "And my certificate didn't deserve to survive the fire pit?" Lily's head jerked up. Mark frowned. "What certificate?" Dad slammed his palm on the table. "Enough." But I wasn't afraid anymore. "No," I said quietly. "Not enough. Not even close." I told Mark everything, not dramatically, not with tears, just facts. How Lily never finished anything she started. How she took loan money meant for career training and blew it on keeping up with influencers. How my parents hid the debt behind fake stories of her success. How they burned my hard-earned certificate, my future, just so Lily wouldn't feel like she was falling behind. Mark stared at Lily, betrayal twisting across his face. "Is this true?" Lily burst into tears. I didn't want you to think I was a failure." My mother rounded on me, snarling, "Look what you did! Look what you caused!" I stood slowly, pushing my chair back. "What I caused?" My voice didn't shake. "You left my son crying with a broken wrist. You left him on a porch while you took Lily's kid to dinner like royalty. You told me pain builds character. You burned my future because she couldn't handle someone else succeeding." Aunt Joyce's eyes filled with something like pride. I took Noah's small hand, his cast tucked safely against my hip. "I'm done protecting your lies," I said, "and I'm done being your scapegoat. From now on, every person you expect favors from will hear exactly who you are." My dad sneered, "You think anyone will believe you over us?" Aunt Joyce stood behind me. "I believe her, and the rest of the family will too." My mother's face collapsed. Lily sank into her chair. Mark stepped away from her like she'd burned him, and for the first time in my life, they chased after me, not with insults, not with demands, but with fear. As I walked out the front door, my dad yelled, "You can't do this. We need you to keep quiet." And that was the point. They needed me, and I didn't need them. I buckled Noah into his seat, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "No one will ever hurt you like that again." Behind me, through the open window, I heard my mother's voice crack for the first time I could ever remember. "Megan, please, don't tell anyone." But the door was already closing. Not softly, not silently, just finally. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.